Hi, it's Lucy, and today I'm going to be doing a video on the lowest rated books I've ever read according to Goodreads. Currently, I just moved, so right now the best lighting in my apartment is outside on the balcony that I have, which I am blessed to have now because it's nice to have some outdoor space. I'm planning to fill it with greenery, but that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about the lowest rated books that I've read according to Goodreads. I actually filmed the highest rated books that I've read according to Goodreads a couple of months ago. You've probably seen that already if you're watching this. So that's kind of like a part one to this video. I did not plan to have this part two go up so far away from part one, but you know, life happens. So we're here now, and that's what matters. So today I'm going to be talking about the top 12 lowest rated books, or the bottom 12. I don't know how you say that. The first video I did the top 10, but this video I'm doing the top 12 because a few of these books I actually have almost no recollection of reading, so I'm just gonna kind of not move past them. I'm still going to tell you about them, but like I won't have a lot of commentary for them because I barely remember them. So forgot to mention I got the idea from Drinking by My Shelf, who got the idea from Leanne Rose. Links below. The way this works is that I sorted my Goodreads read shelf by average rating. I did it so the lowest is first, so I can just scroll down and we'll just talk about each book as they come up. So the first book is The Night Children by Kit Reed. This is one of those books that I don't really remember reading. So the book is about some kids who live in a mall, and I probably read this because it does remind me a little bit, just the synopsis, of The Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler, where they live in the Met Museum. But this is a little different because I think it's like homeless kids or abandoned kids, it says. So it's about some kids, and this girl ends up finding these kids, and there's like a gang war or something. According to the synopsis, I really don't remember reading this. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars, but the average rating on Goodreads is 3.01, which is pretty low. It also only has 74 ratings and 13 reviews. Can't tell you if I would change that rating because I have no plans to reread it, and I read it in 2011, where I also just gave most things I read 4 stars unless it was horrifically bad. Next, with a rating of 3.07, we have Lily and Taylor by Elise Moser. I remember this cover, but I don't remember this. But it's apparently about a girl whose older sister is murdered in a horrific incident of domestic abuse. That's probably why I read it. That's not why I read it, but I used to really like to read books about teenagers who went through hard things like that. So that's probably why I picked it up. But yeah, I have no memory of this. I gave it 4 stars. Very La Freak by Rachel Kahn. This was about a girl who was a technology addict, apparently, and she like gets sent to rehab for her technology addiction. I remember this a little bit because I used to really love Rachel Kahn, and I was trying to read all of her books at one point. I gave it 4 stars, but I wrote in my review that it was 3.5 stars. I actually gave it 3.5 stars. I read this in 2012, so that means it was not that great if I was able to give it 3.5 stars in 2012. I really was not a critical reader in high school, so I feel like that says something. Most of the reviews complain about like a lack of plot in the book, and also the main character, which I know is like a complaint that a lot of people had about Rachel Kahn or Cohn. Like her main characters, a lot of people don't like them because they tend to be spoiled brats. I don't know, not spoiled brats, but they tend to read as more spoiled, and like not a lot, but of the books that I remember reading by her, it's about them like learning how to be like better people kind of. But Rachel Cohn wrote a series that I really liked. That's why I was trying to read all of her books. It was a gingerbread series, which also has bad reviews. It's not going to come up on this list, but a lot of people don't like that main character, so I think there's a similarity there. White Magic by Kelly Easton. This got 3.8 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. This is another book I have literally no recollection of reading. Yeah, I just don't remember reading this at all, honestly. It says this is about a main character who joins a coven of good witches, apparently, but the synopsis also uses a slur for Romani people, so I gave it 4 stars when I read it, but once again, I read it in 2011. So next we have a book I remember, finally. This book is Carefully Everywhere Descending by L.B. Bedford. This got 3.09 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 2 stars, 2 whole stars. This is actually the first book that I ever received for review from NetGalley. The video review that I did for this book is still up. I am not going to link it because it does not show me in the best light, I think. I don't know, it's just old, so it feels weird to have people look at me from 5 years ago. So if you want to look it up, you can look it up. It's fine. It was a scathing review. This was bad. It was bad. It has 54 ratings, so yeah, I feel bad for the book. This is an FF romance, which I'm pretty sure was where one of the stars that I gave it came from. But the romance was not good. All of the characters were annoying to me. And it follows a girl who starts to go to like a private school, I think, so that she can get a chance to escape poverty. But I don't think it dealt with her being in poverty well, in my opinion. It's a hate to love romance where this girl that was mean to the main character when she first got there needs to be tutored, but so the main character ends up tutoring her and maybe they fall in love. I don't remember how that all played out, honestly. So next, with a rating of 3.12 stars, we have Bumped by Megan McCafferty. This is the first book in the Bumped duology. I gave it 4 stars. But this book is bad. Objectively, looking back, I know it was bad. I know it. I think I read the second book a few years later, and I was like, why did I read this series? This was definitely deep into my dystopian phase. I think I talked about this when I tier ranked all the series that I read. Yeah, this was in my dystopian phase. I was like just eating up any dystopian book I could get. This is set in a future where everyone over the age of 18 is infertile, and so I guess it like tries to combine capitalism, because then the parents or older people decide to pay teen girls to like carry their babies and be surrogates, and it's like a whole thing where society shifts and basically encourages teen pregnancy. Girls sport fake baby bumps, and the school cafeteria stocks folic acid enriched foods. We follow a set of identical twins who were separated at birth, and one of them was raised like in the midst of this society. She's like just one of the teen girls. She's trying to get a good like match, I think, because since everyone is infertile, that they try and like find like good sperm donors and everything. It's like a whole thing. Yeah, so one of them is trying to do that, and the other one was raised in like a religious sect. So they basically forced the girls to like grow up wanting to be wives and mothers, but obviously they do it earlier. I think they just make matches earlier. I don't know. It's been a long time since I read it. But anyway, the whole idea of the series was weird. They end up getting like switched because they're twins, and things happen from there. But it's bad. I gave it 4 stars at the time, but don't read it. It's bad. How to Win at Feminism, The Definitive Guide to Having It All, and Then Some. This is a book formed by Reductress, which is an online magazine, kind of like the Feminist Onion. So the Goodreads rating is 3.14 stars, and I gave it 3 stars. So it was pretty on par. I thought it would have worked as just a coffee table book. The mistake was trying to read it all in one go, basically like a regular book, because every article basically says the same thing, and it's not that funny. And yeah, it's just not that good. Like, thinking about it, Reductress, the magazine, I really only like the headlines. I never like clicked through, and that was like a thing I feel like I should have realized. The 100 Lies of Lizzie Lovett. This has a resounding rating of 3.17 on Goodreads. I gave it 3 stars. This is one of those books that makes me contemplate doing a video where I star rate books. Is that the phrase I'm looking for? Where I re-rate books, where I basically just give books different ratings than I originally gave them, because I probably was too nice to them the first time I rated them. This, I feel like, was one of those books, and lots of people agree with me. This wasn't very good. This is about a girl who gets kind of obsessed when a girl from her school goes missing, and she like wants to solve the case, but she has like the world's weirdest theory that I thought was going to mean something by the end of the book, and it didn't. And so the whole book felt pointless. Along with that, I listened to the audiobook. I remember this is probably my most hated audiobook of all time, because the narrator's voice was so whiny. It fit with like the main character of the book. Like, I believed that the main character sounded so awful and annoying, but it was just really grating to listen to. Just the whole book didn't make sense. I feel like the Goodreads rating should honestly be lower. I probably, if I were re-rating this, maybe I would give it 2.5 stars looking back, or 2 stars even. But yeah, the main character was just not it for me. Not it for a lot of people apparently, since it's showing up on this list. Let me know if you think I should do a video where I kind of re-rate books that I have previously rated. I'm planning to do a video on how I rate books in the first place, because I don't know, I've been having lots of thoughts about that, and there was that whole discussion that I really missed the train on, but you know, I'm late to everything. This video's late, so I might still do that. I'm probably still going to do that. Next, we have The Love Interest by Cale Dietrich. This has 3.19 stars. I also felt like this should be lower on the list. Like, this should have been one of the first books I talked about. I gave it 2 stars because it was bad. This has 8,000 ratings. I remember this being fairly popular. It was a book of the month pick, which is probably why it got so many like people reading it. And on the surface level, it sounds like it's going to be a good time, but it's so disappointing. It sounds like it's going to be like a satire. It has like the nice guy next door and like the bad boy trope, and it sounds like it's going to be subversive, but it's really not. It has a romance. The main character is gay, which, you know, once again sounds like a recipe for success. It was not. I think I did read this last year, so it would have shown up in my worst books of 2019 video if you want to hear more about how much I didn't like this book. And I know the author is releasing another book fairly soon, but this book really scarred me from wanting to read his other book, so I'm gonna wait for the reviews on that to really see if I'm interested in that, but probably won't be reading that either. Never Slow Dance with a Zombie. This has 3.2 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 2 stars apparently. Apparently I finished reading this in 2012, which would have made me a sophomore in high school, I think. I gave it 2 stars, which is wild to me. Like I said, I basically gave everything 4 stars back then, so the fact that this got 2 stars, I feel like that means something. Probably one of my issues with this is I don't really like zombies in media at all. They freak me out. I don't like it. The thing is, I don't like gore, and zombies are like inherently gory most of the time. This already had a strike against it, but I also read this before I realized that. And this is about, I think there's like a zombie invasion. Basically, everyone at the main character's school gets turned into a zombie except for her and her friend and the principal of their school. Everyone else is a zombie, and the principal's like, can you and your friend just pretend like it's normal? And so the 2 characters take this as an opportunity to like complete their high school bucket list. And my only review for it, because back then I didn't write reviews, I wrote that the main characters read as if they were in 7th grade instead of 11th grade, because it says that they're in juniors in high school. And I was in 10th grade at the time I read this, so the main character probably read really young. I don't know. I think the thing is, it was supposed to be like funny, but it fell flat. The Girl's Guide to Conquering Life, How to Ace an Interview, Change a Tire, Talk to a Guy, and 97 other skills you need to thrive. Okay, that was so hard for me to say the title. I'm super sorry about that. By Erica Catherine and Jonathan Catherman. So I guess this was a dynamic duo, although not that dynamic because this has a 3.28 rating on Goodreads. I also received this for review a year ago. I mean, I read it, so I gave it 3.5 stars. So I really didn't have an issue with this. I feel like most of this video has been me either agreeing with the ratings or being like it should have been lower, or just like not having a super hardcore opinion because I didn't remember the book. This is the first time where I actually like didn't mind the book. But I kind of feel like the 3.28 rating is fair, because I feel like more people would give it 3 stars than 4 stars. And the way some people review, this could also get 2.5 stars since it mostly read as average to me. I remember I mostly got the book for review because when I was younger, I used to love like guide books. There were so many books that are like for girls and for boys. I read both of them. Well, actually, I mostly read the girl books because I was really sexist when I was younger. There was like the the daring book for girls. There was like a how to be the best at everything for girls. Just like books like that. I used to love those kinds of books, and so this reminded me of that. So I mostly got it for nostalgia purposes, and I felt like it served that purpose. Mostly the issue I had with it was just kind of boring. Like the books that I mentioned, I felt like they were like written in a fun way. This one was just like basically all facts, and I also thought it could have been more trans inclusive. Which was probably an issue with those books. I wouldn't say I would recommend it, but I wouldn't not recommend it. And the last book that I'm going to talk about in this video, which I honestly have the most like opposite opinion, Winged Poppy Midnight by April Genevieve Tucholke. This has a 3.27 rating on Goodreads, so pretty low. Obviously the highest in this video, but that's still low. I should say for the record, I think like under 3.5 stars on Goodreads is really low. Honestly, under 3.75 is not great, and I feel like my opinion and a lot of people's opinions, but definitely under 3.5. But yeah, this one has 3.27, so not great. I gave this 4 stars when I read it, and then as the year went on, because I think I read this earlier on in the year, by the end of the year it ended up in my favorite books of the year list. So I really enjoyed this book. I know a lot of people don't like it because it has kind of a fabulous nonsensical writing style, but I really liked it. It also made it a really quick read. I remember I read this for a readathon and I read it in like 2 hours, I think. So it's definitely short. It has like a very lyrical writing style, and like the characters' names are like weird and everything about it is just weird, but it worked so well for me. I want to reread it because this got such negative reviews. Literally, I'm the only person who read this and liked it. It feels like sometimes. So yeah, I want to reread it and see if I would feel the same. because I read it, I think I was a sophomore in college. So that would have been like 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Okay, I read it in 2017. I'm like, how old am I? I enjoyed reading this story. It's really hard to explain what it's about, but the first part of the synopsis is every story needs a hero, every story needs a villain, every story needs a secret. And yeah, it just follows 3 characters. It's real weird. I really liked it. But Goodreads did not agree. So those are all the books that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Those are my bottom 12 books that I've ever read. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any opinions about any of the books that I mentioned in the comments down below, leave that opinion. That sentence did not work. Guard my channel if you haven't already. And hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever I post a video. Follow me on Goodreads, Twitter, and Instagram, where you can see pictures of my cat, who you should want to see pictures of because I love him. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.